Over the past few years, we have raised and processed thousands of Cornish Cross chickens. We've got our orders placed, we've got our shipment notice, and tomorrow our new season of Cornish Cross chickens begins. We're going to take you along on the journey from day one to processing day and show you how to raise Cornish Cross chickens. The first step is in the brooder. Let's get it set up. Okay guys, the first steps in getting your chickens ready is having a brooder. And here are our brooders. And what these are is we've used 2 sheets of 4x8 plywood, cut them in half. We put little grooves in each of these slots, about 1/4 inch or 1 inch wide, and we slide them into the grooves and they fit together to make a box. So on the floor of this barn is cement. So what we did was we put down moving blankets underneath because that cement is cold, and then we put tarps on top of it, and that is basically our brooder setup. Now we've got a top on the brooder. Just use 1x or 2x4s, cut them in half, and then we use chicken wire because we have had rats. Sometimes we'll leave this barn open to get some ventilation through here. And if cats or anything else comes in, we want those birds to be safe. And then we have our heat lamps in here, and these are secured by wire to the top of this, and that keeps them up there, and we do come and check on these just to make sure. But that is a basic brooder setup. We're going to use pine shavings. We get ours from Tractor Supply. I really like using the fine shavings. That seems to have worked best for us. So we've got, like I said, moving blanket underneath for insulation to keep it warm on that cement. Tarp on top, easy to clean off. We're going to put the shavings right on top of that, and we'll get this brooder set up and ready for chicks. All right, shavings are down. We've got about 2 to 3 inches in most parts of this, and we are ready to go. We're going to turn the lights on because we want our brooder to warm up before the chicks arrive, and we're going to show you a way we keep the heat in. It's a little bit cold out right now. It's early March, so obviously they're not going to be outside for a couple weeks until it warms up, and we want this to stay around 90 to 95 degrees for these chicks. We never used to put thermometers in here. Last year we were having some loss, and I wasn't exactly sure what the temperature was in here. So now we've invested in some thermometers, so I know right away when we walk in and see them, we know what the temperature is in here. So let's get this shut down and let's show you what we do to keep the temperature inside the brooder. All right, so that is down. Obviously it's going to warm up under those lights. We also, to keep this heat in, we have more moving blankets that we just throw right over the top, and that helps obviously keep that heat down in by those chicks and keep them warm. Now I don't have anything on the front of the coop right now or the brooder, but I'm going to just come back this afternoon. We'll check the temperature and see how well it's doing. Tomorrow morning we're going to go pick up those chicks. As you can hear, the chicks have arrived. Let's go in and check our brooder and make sure everything is ready to go. We've got the blankets on top, making sure our heat is regulated correctly. Let's lift it up and check what we're at here. Looks like we are 97, 98 right under the light, 74 in the middle. That will be perfect. The chicks can go under the light if they're cold and out to the outsides if they are getting too warm. So when we start, all we do is we add water. We don't need feed right now. We want these chicks, they've just come in. We want them to get a good drink of water before they start eating. So we will not put food in till the evening or even the next morning. Now chicks do not need food or water for 72 hours after they hatch. That is why hatcheries are able to ship chickens, and they do just fine. So when we start, we just make sure they have good fresh water, and we don't worry about the food till either the evening or the next morning. Let's go get these chicks in. Guys, we've got them all unboxed. 102 chickens. You do not have to dip all their beaks. You can just dip a few and the other ones figure out what it is. But we like to do that just so we can get a count on the chicks as well. We've got 102 chickens all piling up here and all looking very healthy. These are from Valley Farms. If you use KC Farms 12, you'll get $12 off your order of Cornish Cross with Valley Farms. They've been a great company to work with. We have had no complaints with them. Ryan and the crew always help us out when we have any issues, and they have produced some great chicks for us. All right, guys, we are at the end of day one. We are going to add feed in for the chickens now. It has been about 10 hours since they've arrived. Two different types of feeders. We're just going to show you the most common, why we like some and why we don't. These are the ones that we are going to be using. And there's these tray feeders that you also can get. They're very popular in any feed store you find. The reason I don't like these, and you can see from the last usage, the chickens get up on these and poop in them and all over them, especially as they get a little bit older. The nice thing about them is it's a long trough, so you can get a lot of chickens on either side. They can eat from both sides. There's not as much space for these ones to get there, but they can go around. We've got 4 of them, so that will be plenty. But they don't climb up in and poop in the feed as bad as with the trough feeders. So let's get these put in and get the chickens some grain. The only other thing we add are these wooden platforms. We really like them because it keeps the feed and the water up a little bit higher, so the birds can't get up and get their water as messy when they're scratching. So those are a nice benefit to have. We've got them under the feeders and we've got them under the waters. There's a lot of questions about what feed to use for the chickens. We have always used a non-GMO 18% protein chick starter grower. We've never used anything else. A lot of people will suggest starting them on 20 to 22% protein for the first 4 weeks and then backing it down to the 18%. We don't have access to the higher protein feed where we are at, so we use what is available. We've raised thousands of chickens this way ever since we've started, and we've always used the same feed, 18% protein from day 1 to week 8, and we've never had issues. If you have access to a higher protein and you want to try that, by all means, go ahead. We just don't have that access. It has worked out great for us, and that is what we use. All right, there's our setup. Day 1 is in the books. Our temperature has definitely been regulated a little better. It's 104 right underneath the lamp. It's about 76 out from the lamp, so they will come around the lamps when they get cool, and then they will move to the outer edge as they warm up and get too hot. So we're going to follow this journey along for 8 weeks, guys. It takes these Cornish Cross 8 weeks to get large enough to a processing weight. We're going to try and keep it short so the video's not an hour long, but we're going to come back maybe weekly, definitely at the big points in their life when we get to move them out onto pasture, when we process, and we will show the journey for 8 weeks. You'll be able to raise chickens yourself and provide food for your family. All right, guys, we are a week and a half in, and the birds are starting to grow, starting to get a little more agile and moving around a lot better. Not a whole lot going on in the brooder. A lot of eating, sleeping, and pooping. You can see the manure is starting to build up just a little bit. We'll fluff this up, and we will change out bedding here shortly. Basically, what we've been doing, and this is something you may want to do with the waters, we come back out in the afternoons, we still rinse out the waters, rinse out the trough, make sure the water is always clean and fresh. It is 90 degrees in here, and we don't want that water to get warm and stagnant. So even if there is water in there, we like to change out the water and get them fresh every single time. So we're getting ready to fill up these feeders. We're using our 18% chick starter grower, non-GMO. You can use what is available to you. And one other thing that we sometimes add, we don't do this all the time, but we just thought we'd show you this. We do add a little bit of grit. They have a starter grit and there's a grower grit. Obviously these birds are inside of the brooder. They cannot scratch and peck and get any small stones or anything in the yard. So we're gonna add some grit here. The grit, obviously chickens don't have teeth, so the grit they use to help digest their food. We've raised plenty of birds without grit. We've done it with grit as well. And for these ones, we're gonna add some grit into their food to help them be able to digest in these first couple weeks. What we like to do is we just like to take our feed, put it in a bucket, pour a little grit in there, and then we'll mix it around to help give it make it mixed out thorough throughout their feed. And like I said, we've used this before. We've done it without the grit. This time I just want to have grit in there to give them a little option to help digest this food as they continue to eat. Another thing you can do if you've got feed already in the feeder, you can just sprinkle some around in the trough to make sure they're getting some. And just an idea about feed, we just went through our first bag after a week and a half with 102 chicks, and we've lost 3. So we're down to 99, but they don't eat too much. Week and a half, 150-pound bag. That will increase every single day now that they're growing and getting bigger. So big tip today, keep fresh water in there. You can add grit if you'd like to help them digest that food, but the chickens are growing great. Next time we see them, hopefully we'll be getting out on pasture. Hey guys, we have finally hit an important date. From 1 day to 4 weeks, we have basically just been changing waters and feeding, and normally we'd get them out a little bit earlier, but this time of year it's a little bit colder at night, so we did not want to get them out too early. But they are 4 weeks old now. At 4 weeks old, they are feathered out and ready to go outside. We've had some bad storms, so we have not taken them out quite yet. Isaiah and I just got our chicken tractors ready, and we've got 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and taking a big old tarp and trying to put that over the chicken tractor with all that wind was not the easiest. So we're gonna go take a look at the chicken tractors and how we run our chickens out on grass. Then we're gonna come back and we are getting these birds outside on fresh grass where they belong. Okay, hopefully you can hear me with this wind. Here are our chicken tractors. We've got this one finished and ready to go for chickens, but I want to show you kind of how we did this build. These are just 10 by 20 carport frames. Obviously we've cut the legs down so they're not so tall, but they are 6 feet in the middle. So the reason we love these tractors is we can walk in and do what we need to do inside. So around the chicken tractor, I built a 2-foot high wood base, and then all we did, we screwed the carport frame to that base. They're 20 feet long, so we used 10-foot 2x4s on the bottom. And then hopefully you can see this is where they connected right here. But we did a little piece of angle iron underneath just to strengthen that. Not very long, but just to strengthen it where those two joints met. We've got hardware cloth on the bottom half, so things can't rip through, because sometimes in chicken wire they can break through. And then from this 2-foot frame up to where the carport frame is, we just took regular chicken wire, stapled it on the inside, and wrapped it around here and zip tied it together. So then when you just put the roof on, we'll go look at that finished one here in a minute. The one thing, we made this door on accident wide enough that I can get a whole bin full of chickens in here. So you might want to make sure your width here is good for things you want to take in. So that is basically the design. The 2 feet all the way around. Back here we call this the broiler bumper. This is just a piece of conduit So when we do pull this, this will bump against the chicken's legs and not run them over back here on this 2x4 and push them forward. Once they've been in here for a week or so, they get used to knowing when it's time to move, so they're normally running towards the front anyway, and that's not an issue. But when they're younger, that is a very nice feature to have. To pull, we used to just use rope. Let me get this locked up here. But now I have a piece of wire. You can use rope, chain, whatever you've got. The important thing is getting it long enough. We just lift up a little bit in the front, and then here towards the back, we've got two little 7, 9-inch wheels, whatever you can find. I think we found them at Harbor Freight, and it lifts it up onto those wheels and you can pull it across. So it's not as heavy as it may look, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because they will blow up once you get the tarps on there. But it's easy that you can just pull it along and you do not need a tractor to move it. So let's go look at this finished one here. We've got this one here made like this because we put egg layers in here and we wanted them to have roosting bars. But here's the one we've got put together that we're gonna put the chickens in today. We've got our tarp on, and boy, let me tell you, that was a chore to get that on. But the tarps come with the carport, so that's nothing you have to add extra. I did find these 4-foot tarps on Amazon. We've got a link to those. They're 4x20, so we put those along the sides when it's cold. I can easily take those off when we don't need them anymore. I've just got them zip tied through the grommets around the top that holds them up, and then we put a little piece of 1x. Let me show you that. Put a little piece of 1x and just screwed it up here to hold it down at the bottom. Now we don't have to take this all the way off. When it starts to warm up and we want breeze coming through here, we just take that off and then we'll screw it to this 1x up here, and then it's open for the chickens. In the past, I have put a tarp all the way along the back too, just when it's been really cold and we want to get them out, but we do not need that right now. So inside, we do use the water pans. There are different options you can use. The water pans have just been easy for us. It lets those chickens get their beaks way down in the water and get a good drink of water. When we do move this thing, we've got to pick up feeders and waterers, which is kind of a pain, but it works. Some people have said you can mount waterers and put stuff. We don't want to make this any heavier than it is already. The only thing mounted are these center trough feeders, and I've just made these out of Schedule 40, cut it, and we've got feeder troughs. So these two, when we pull it, will go. I've got to come in and get these, pick these troughs up and move it with them. So anyway, that is the basic setup. I hope that covers a lot of the things you guys have questions for. One important thing, we do have this anchored at opposite corners. We've got a metal stake. You can use rebar. I just drilled a hole down through here, and I've got it staked at this corner, and I've got it staked at the opposite back corner back there. Well, you're not going to be able to see it, but same exact thing. We don't do all four. We just did opposite corners. Wind can get under these and pick them up. We have experienced that and have lost some of these, so we do anchor them down. Most days it's not windy, but early in the spring it does get windy. So we also did 1x's up here along the edges just to hold this down a little bit. Don't have to do that. I just like it for extra support on these windy days. And when at night I hear the wind blowing and I'm wondering, man, I wonder if that tarp ripped off. So anyway, there is a picture of the chicken tractors and what we run them in. Every morning and evening when we feed, we pull it one space forward so they're constantly on fresh grass and off of their manure. So that's enough talking about the chicken tractors. Let's do the best part. The chickens will be in a little bit of shock, but eventually they're gonna love being out here getting grass, bugs, and living outside where they should be. This always happens when you bring the chickens out. They're a little bit nervous, wondering where they are, but this is an awesome time for us and an awesome time for the chickens. The first batch of chickens out on fresh grass in 2025. We got 96 total. Let's get them. Okay, so we've got all 96 birds out. I'm gonna let them clean out their old feeders first before I fill these troughs up with feed. We are late in the afternoon, so they are not that hungry right now, but that is the part we like to see with them picking at the grasses. they're all a little bit scared, but this is a great day. It's an exciting day. The first exciting day is when you get them at day-old chicks, and the next big thing is when you get them out on grass. So 4 weeks old, when it's cold at night, 4 weeks old because they're fully feathered. Once summer hits, get them out as soon as you can, because it is way better out here on pasture than inside on the brooder. Over the past 4 weeks, we've just been rotating the birds up and down the pasture, feeding them and moving them twice a day, making sure they have fresh water. So it hasn't been that exciting, except for the fact that to see them grow and how quickly they put on this weight. So we are here now at the processing station. We've got all of them done except the final 16. So we've got 16 to do in the morning. We've taken them off feed. We feed in the morning, and then at the afternoon time, we just bring them over here, and we don't want them to eat again because their crops will fill with food and it'll make the processing a little more difficult. So they'll be fine. They've got fresh water in the pen for tonight, but we don't have any more feed on them. You want to make sure you take them off feed, or you will not have an enjoyable time processing your birds. So we've got them in this little chicken tractor to hold them for the morning, and we're just going to show you our setup here as we get ready to process. So we'll come out tomorrow, we'll show the processing, and we're going to show you how to bag up whole birds, and we're going to show you how to piece up a chicken as well. So anyway, they're going to start here. We'll come out in the morning, and we've got our kill cones. Chickens are going to go upside down in the kill cone, and we will slit their throat, and that is the quickest, most humane way, and they will not suffer or be in there very long. So first station is the cones, and then we've got a scalding pot. This is probably my least favorite thing of our setup so far. This is just a turkey fryer. We'll have a propane tank hooked up to it tomorrow. We'll talk about where we want our water and everything, what temperature we want it to be, but I just wanted to show you our setup. And then once they come out of the scalder, which loosens up their feathers, they are going to go into the chicken plucker, and we're going to show you how all this stuff works. So after they come out of the plucker, we've got some coolers up here. They'll go into an ice bath, and then they'll be ready to eviscerate. And we're going to talk about all that tomorrow morning when we get going. But I just wanted to show you our initial setup for the chickens. We've got 8 weeks of work put into this chicken, 8 weeks of feed put into these chickens, and now it's the important part where we can harvest these birds and put food in our freezers. Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the farm. It is processing day, and we're getting ready to show you how to make the kill. I'm sure this is a lot of people's least favorite part. It's definitely our least favorite part, but part that needs to be done. And I know a lot of people have requested to see exactly how this is done. So we've got 4 birds left that need to go. We're gonna do our best to show you how to dispatch the chicken. If this is something you don't wanna see, all you need to do is fast forward about 30 seconds and it'll be finished. So we're gonna go in, grab a bird, put it down in the cone, and show you where to make the cut. Now these birds are kind of big, but when you're grabbing it, you kind of want to hold the wings down so you're able to get it in the cone, and just grab the legs here. They go upside down, and then you've got the chicken's head, and you're holding by the feet on the other end. All right, so once you've got the chicken's head through the cone, you're looking for this jawline. There's the chicken's ear lobe right here and jawline, so you're going to want to cut right above this jawline. You can do it on one side, and you can flip it and do it on both. I always used to do one side until I got comfortable, and now I do it on both. As long as you have a really good sharp knife, this is pretty simple. We're just going to make a cut here. I'll flip my knife and make a cut here. Then I'm going to hold on to the legs, because sometimes they can flip out of the cone. Let's make our cut. Cut is made. The bird will squabble. I'm holding on to the legs right here, so that way it does not flip itself up out of the cone. This will not take long, probably 30 seconds, and the bird will be dispatched. All right, now that our bird is dispatched, we're we're gonna take it and put it into the plucker. Now, we talked about this plucker. This is just a turkey frying pan, which I'm not a big fan of because it doesn't regulate its heat. So if I get too hot, the skin is gonna rip when I throw it in the plucker. If I'm not hot enough, then the feathers are not gonna pluck very well. So I like my water at 150 degrees. We are right at that mark. So we're gonna take our chicken. You're gonna make sure you have a heat glove on, and you wanna dunk that chicken until the feathers start to come out. Now I got my water too hot, so I've got it too full right now. That's why my water's spilling out. But we're just gonna take and dunk that chicken until these feathers start to pull out of its wings good. So we'll lift it up out, check it. Feathers came out pretty easy, so we are pretty close. I'm gonna dunk it a couple more times just to make sure we get a good pluck. All right, feathers are pulling out of its wings good. We're ready for the plucker. All right, into the plucker. If you guys have never seen one of these, if you're doing any more than 5 to 10 chickens, I would recommend a plucker. They're expensive, but they're definitely well worth it. We're gonna turn it on and we're gonna turn the water on to help get it plucked as we go along. So here we go. All right, and just like that, 15 to 20 seconds, we've got ourselves a plucked chicken that almost looks like a product we're ready to eat. Sometimes if you get those feet down in there enough, a lot of people use the feet for dog treats to make chicken broth. That's a good important part on the dunk. If you get it down in there enough and scald it good enough, then that skin pops right off and your feet will be ready for broth. So there we are. Next step is into a chill cooler. All right, we've got our first chicken done. We will leave them in the cooler until we get all the chickens done, and then we will start to eviscerate the chickens. All right, it is time to eviscerate. As far as how long we've set them on ice, we just have them cooling. I went and did chores, cleaned up a few things. There's no real set time. You just want to get that body temperature down. So we've got a couple tables to do our evisceration on. We try to save as much as we can. So we've got a bowl for feet, we've got a bowl for necks, livers, hearts, and gizzards. As far as the tools that we're using, we just have a good sharp knife, 6-inch boning knife. This is a strawberry core that I use on the inside to help get lungs out or anything that I can't get with my hands. And then we've got a pair of chicken shears. We also have a couple buckets to put all the intestines and waste that we need to get rid of. And that is basically it. We've got a couple of hoses that we need, and that is our basic setup. So let's pull a chicken out here, and we're gonna show you how we eviscerate or take all the intestines out of the chicken. Okay, we've got our chicken out of the cooler. First thing we're gonna do is get rid of the feet. There is a little valley right here, and if you pull up on the chicken and use the weight of the chicken, it will kind of help you cut through. So we're gonna take both feet off. We'll put our feet in our feet bowl. Next thing we wanna do is take off the head. We use our chicken shears for that, just to cut through the bone, and then our knife will get the rest. Okay. Everything we're going to take out of the back of the chicken, that is one reason you want to keep them off food, because the crop is right here on this breast, and if it's full up with food, it is hard to get through the chicken. So we're going to make a little cut on the neck. We just pull the skin up, make a cut there. We're going to go in and we're going to get the esophagus and the windpipe. First thing here is the windpipe, and the esophagus is actually hooked to it right here. We're pulling those out so they're not attached to anything, so they can pull out the back. I'm going to show you here where the crop is. You can see the crop, this piece right here that's attached to the top of the breast. Well, I like to pull that right off of there. It's off of the breast now, and it will be able to come out. If they were eating before we butchered, this would be full of food. This is where all their food is. So now that's off, it's gonna be able to go right out the back. We've got a few little feathers here. You can pull those off. We can get them later. We're just gonna make a cut right here. Small cut. You don't wanna cut too deep because you can see intestines in there, and we don't wanna cut those open. So we'll just pull open the cavity. Now I'm just gonna be scooping with my hand and pulling everything out. I'm gonna scoop around the side of the rib cage, scoop around the other side of the rib cage, and along the spine is right here. I'm gonna you can feel some of these cords that are attached, so I'm gonna run my fingers along, and we're gonna try and just pull it all out at once. Sometimes it all doesn't come out. Here comes the esophagus, the crop, and the windpipe all there. I've got his heart right here. We're gonna keep that heart. I like to just peel a little bit of this off, clean it up a little bit. We do sell a lot of chicken hearts, believe it or not. So we'll put our heart in. We're gonna clean the rest of this up here. You can see the windpipe is still here. I just gotta reach in. It came off there. We'll reach in. Everything is a little bit slippery and slimy. We'll pull that out and have that out of our way. We are, like I said, we are saving the livers and the hearts. I used to cut these off. I can just pull the liver off. We don't want to puncture this piece right here, so I can just pinch and pull. We've got livers that we keep. The last thing we're going to keep from here is the gizzard. We'll clean this up later. We'll take the gizzard, put it in our gizzard pan. Now we're going to cut around. This is obviously the anus. We want to cut around it. We don't want to open anything up. So I'm just going to cut away on both sides and down. We're going to take off all the tail, and we'll put all of our guts into the bucket. This is where the strawberry core comes in. You can see down in here, there's a few things that didn't come. It's hard for me to get them with my hands, so I just take and scrape. And we'll try to clean up that cavity as best we can. When we have a whole chicken that we're preparing for someone, we don't want any mess left inside of that chicken, and that is where this strawberry core helps us out. Take all this and get it out of our way. Use our hose. Clean up our table. I'm just going to take this chicken now before we clean it the rest of the way out. Some people will keep the necks on. We don't like to keep the necks on. We do save the necks, but we don't keep it on the whole chicken just because it punctures our bag sometimes when we're trying to do a whole chicken. So we'll take that neck off, clean up that skin, and we'll save our neck. These are great for dog treats as well, or some people will use them to make chicken broth. All right, so now we've got our whole chicken. We're gonna take our hose, just clean it up. Clean up the inside. Keep your workstation clean. And the last thing I do, this is going to most likely be pieced up in the end, but if I was saving this for a whole chicken, I like to make a little slit back here in the skin, tuck the legs, and then we've got a good whole chicken. Obviously I've got a few feathers that I need to clean up here, but this just keeps the legs nice and tight when you package it. So there you have it. We've got our whole chicken eviscerated, cleaned. We're gonna put it into a different cooler now, and it will sit until we piece it up or we make it a whole chicken. Okay, when getting whole birds ready, we put them on this little stand we've made out of PVC. Helps them drip dry just a little bit as we go over them once again, just to find any feathers we may have missed. This one looks pretty good. All right, then we're gonna get our chicken shrink bag, put it over top. And these chickens are ready to go. We're gonna insert, we take it off the stand. We're gonna insert a straw in there, and that helps suck the air out of the bag. We've got our scalding pot cleaned and fresh water in there, and the temperature of the water is right around 190 degrees. So we'll put our straw in there. We're gonna zip tie the top, and let's go dunk it. All right, you don't have to have it in here for very long. You can hear the water start to suck out of the bag as it shrinks it around the chicken. Then we just pull the straw out, tighten up the zip tie, and we've got our chicken packaged. We like to bring it up to the table, dry it off. Then we're gonna cut the excess off, the excess bag, and zip tie. And this bird is ready for the freezer. All right, guys, last step. We are gonna piece this up. Sometimes you do not want a whole chicken and you just want some pieces you can pull out of the freezer. So we're gonna start with these hind legs. I guess the only legs. We're gonna make a little cut along each side of the legs. And then we're gonna spread and pop that knuckle out of the joint on both sides. Push down and pop it out. Now we're gonna take our knife and we're gonna follow this line. There's a muscle back here called the oyster, which is a real tender piece of meat. We're gonna cut around, try to get as much of that as we can, and then head towards the back of the bird. There we've got one leg quarter. We'll do the same on the other side. Just following around. If you're cutting into bone, you're missing a spot. So readjust your knife. There's our leg quarters. Next, we're gonna do boneless, skinless breasts. So we're just gonna take this skin, peel it off the breast, all the way up. We've got the breastbone right here, so we'll just take our knife and let it slide. Whatever side it falls on of that breastbone, we're gonna take that side first. Just take my thumb in there. We're gonna cut as close to the rib cage as we can. The only thing you need to watch out for is the wishbone up top. I missed it, so we are good. All right, there's one breast. We'll clean this up as we get in the house. On the back, we've got a tender. You can just pull that tender off. So we've got a breast and a tender. We're gonna flip the chicken around and do the other side. Same thing, cutting along as close to that rib cage. We want to get as much meat as we can. Cutting right around that wing. Tender comes off the back. And there's our breasts. Now we're going to take the wings off. Grab the wing. We're going to cut around a joint in between. There's a wing. Here's another wing. We're gonna get rid of the back. We don't keep the wing tips, so we're gonna cut the wing tip off. Then split the drum and the flat. Same thing on the other wing, cut the wing tip off. Separate the drum and the flat. So now we've got our two wings, breasts, tenders, and one more step if you want just thighs and your legs separated. There's a fat line that runs right through here. We're gonna cut to the right side towards the leg to separate those. Now we've got a thigh and a leg. Same thing, there's a fat line. We're gonna cut right to the right of it. All right. We've got our two thighs, two legs, two breasts, two tenders, and our wings. Your chicken is now pieced up. We'll take this in the house. We'll get it all cleaned up, but our first step is to get it into the fridge and let it cool down. All right, guys. There you have it. Day 1 to week 8, all the way through processing and piecing up. I hope that is something that was helpful to you. If you made it this far, I'm quite impressed, and I'm assuming that you are ready to start processing your own meat. There's nothing like it. It's not easy, it's not cheap, but knowing where your food comes from, what it was fed, is an amazing experience. So there's other ways to do things. Some people do things differently than we do. This is not the end all be all of chicken processing or raising chickens, but hopefully it is something that will help you through your journey. One tip I would say, if this is your first time, I would not start with 100 birds. Processing day is a lot. Unless you have a bunch of help, it takes a lot of time. If it was me, I'd do 25 birds to start with and then maybe do 25 later in the year. And in just 8 short weeks, you've got enough food for your family for a year. And I say that meaning if you eat 1 chicken a week, if you raised 52 chickens, in 8 weeks, you could have your 1 chicken a week for a whole year. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it shed some light on raising and processing chickens. We tried to hit everything possible. If we missed something, throw it down in the comments. If you got questions, put it down in the comments and we will try to get to them as soon as we can. So appreciate you following along. Don't forget to make the change and we'll see you on the next video.